Science of getting rich. There exists a simple equation that governs all wealth creation, whether you're building a business, developing a skill, or pursuing any endeavor that generates money. This equation has operated throughout history, from the merchant traders of ancient civilizations to the industrialists of the modern era. Once you understand this formula and learn to apply it systematically, creating wealth becomes as predictable as following a recipe. 1. The one equation wealth formula. The equation is this: wealth equals valuable problems, solved times, leverage times, compounding times, asymmetry, drag. Let's call this V times L times C times AD for short. Every fortune ever built, every successful venture ever launched, and every person who has achieved financial independence has done so by maximizing the variables on the right side of this equation while minimizing what works against them. The first variable, V, represents the valuable problems you solve. This is your contribution to the world, the pain you remove, or the pleasure you create for others. Value is the foundation of all wealth, because money is simply a representation of the value you've provided to society. The greater the problem you solve, the more people you solve it for, and the better you solve it compared to alternatives, the higher your V becomes. A person who solves small problems for few people earns little. A person who solves massive problems for many people can earn fortunes. Consider the blacksmith who sharpens tools for farmers in his village, versus the inventor who creates a device that helps farmers across multiple regions increase their crop yields. Both solve problems, but the scope and impact differ dramatically. The blacksmith's V is limited by the number of people in his village and the frequency with which they need their tools sharpened. The inventor's V scales with every farmer who adopts the innovation. Value is not just about working hard, it's about working on the right problems in the right way for the right people. The second variable, L, stands for leverage. Leverage allows you to multiply your efforts beyond what you could achieve with your time and energy alone. There are several forms of leverage available to anyone willing to learn how to use them. You can leverage other people's time by building teams or systems that work when you're not present. You can leverage tools and technology to automate repetitive tasks. You can leverage other people's money by using capital to fund growth. You can leverage communication by creating content, writing, or speaking that reaches many people simultaneously. Without leverage, you're trapped in a linear relationship between time and money. You work 1 hour, you get paid for 1 hour. You work 10 hours, you get paid for 10 hours. This is the trap that keeps most people from building significant wealth. But when you apply leverage properly, you can create situations where you're paid for value that extends far beyond the hours you personally invest. A book you write once can sell thousands of copies. A system you build once can serve countless customers. A team you train once can handle operations while you focus on growth. The third variable, C, represents compounding. Compounding occurs when the results of your efforts build upon themselves over time. Most people understand financial compounding, where money earns returns, and those returns earn returns. But compounding applies to much more than investments. Your skills compound as you practice and improve. Your reputation compounds as you consistently deliver value. Your network compounds as you help others, and they help you in return. Your business compounds as satisfied customers refer new customers. The power of compounding lies not in dramatic changes, but in consistent improvement over extended periods. A small advantage that compounds over time will eventually dominate a large advantage that doesn't compound. This is why the person who improves their skills by just 1% each week will surpass the person with superior initial talent who remains static. Compounding rewards patience and consistency more than intensity and brilliance. The fourth variable, A, stands for asymmetry. Asymmetric opportunities are situations where your potential gain far exceeds your potential loss. When you find ways to limit your downside while maintaining unlimited upside, you create conditions for dramatic wealth creation. The key is to structure your activities so that being wrong costs you little, but being right pays you enormously. An author who spends 6 months writing a book faces a limited downside, the time and effort invested, but unlimited upside if the book resonates with readers. A person who learns a new skill faces the limited downside of time spent learning, but unlimited upside in terms of the opportunities that skill might create. A business owner who tests a small experiment faces limited downside in the cost of the test, but unlimited upside if the experiment reveals a profitable new market. Finally, D represents drag, everything that works against your wealth creation. Drag includes obvious things like excessive spending on items that don't produce returns, but it also includes subtler forces. Perfectionism that prevents you from launching creates drag by delaying feedback and learning. Fear that stops you from taking intelligent risks creates drag by limiting your access to asymmetric opportunities. Lack of systems creates drag by forcing you to solve the same problems repeatedly instead of building on previous work. Mental and emotional drag can be just as costly as financial drag. Negative thinking, limiting beliefs, and poor habits all create resistance that slows your progress. Toxic relationships that drain your energy create drag. Environments that don't support your goals create drag. Part of applying this formula successfully involves identifying and eliminating sources of drag in your life. To use this formula effectively, start by honestly assessing your current situation across each variable. For the valuable problems you solve, rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10 based on how significant the problems are, how many people have these problems, and how well you solve them compared to alternatives. For leverage, rate how much your efforts multiply beyond your personal time investment. For compounding, rate how much your current activities build upon themselves over time. For asymmetry, rate how much upside potential you have compared to downside risk. For drag, rate how much resistance you're experiencing across financial, mental, and operational dimensions. Once you've scored yourself on each variable, identify the 3 clearest opportunities to increase your V or L within the next 30 days. These become your immediate focus areas. Perhaps you can solve a more valuable problem for your current audience, or solve your current problem for a more valuable audience. Perhaps you can leverage technology to automate a process, or leverage content creation to reach more people with your existing expertise. The beautiful thing about this formula is that small improvements across multiple variables create dramatic results. A 20% improvement in each positive variable doesn't create a 20% improvement in overall results. It creates a compound effect that more than doubles your output. This is why systematic thinking about wealth creation produces superior results compared to random effort or copying what others are doing without understanding the underlying principles. This formula describes wealth creation, not wealth extraction. The formula works by creating genuine value in the world and capturing a portion of that value in return. The more value you create, the more wealth becomes available to you. This aligns your financial success with positive contribution to others, creating a sustainable foundation for long-term prosperity. 2. Niche like a pro. Pick a game you can win. The difference between struggling for years and building wealth quickly often comes down to one critical decision: choosing the right battlefield. Most people fail not because they lack talent or determination, but because they're fighting battles they cannot win. They enter markets where their natural advantages mean nothing, where they're just another face in an endless crowd of competitors. Wealth creation accelerates dramatically when you find the intersection between what you're naturally good at, what people desperately need, and what few others can deliver. This isn't about finding a tiny market nobody cares about. It's about finding your corner of a large market where your unique combination of skills, experience, and connections creates an unfair advantage. Think of it like choosing which sport to play professionally. A 7-foot-tall person might struggle to become a world-class gymnast, but they have a massive advantage in basketball. Someone with perfect pitch and nimble fingers might never excel at football, but they could dominate in music. The same principle applies to building wealth. Your background, personality, and natural abilities create advantages in some areas and disadvantages in others. The most successful wealth builders understand this instinctively. They don't try to compete everywhere. They find spaces where their particular combination of traits matters more than raw resources or first-mover advantage. A former teacher might struggle to compete with venture capitalists in the startup world, but they could dominate in educational products. A mechanic might never beat tech companies at software, but they could revolutionize automotive services. The key lies in mapping what you bring to the table against what different markets value. This requires honest self-assessment across three critical dimensions: your skills, your credibility, and your access. Your skills include both hard abilities you've developed through training and soft talents that come naturally. Hard skills might include technical knowledge, analytical abilities, or creative talents you've honed over years. Soft skills encompass things like communication, pattern recognition, or emotional intelligence. The magic happens when you find markets that reward your particular skill combination. Consider someone who spent years in corporate finance but also has a natural gift for teaching complex concepts simply. They might struggle competing against established financial advisors for wealthy clients, but they could dominate helping small business owners understand their numbers. Their technical knowledge provides credibility, while their teaching ability solves a problem most financial experts can't address. Credibility comes from your track record, education, and social proof within specific communities. This isn't just about formal credentials, though those matter. It's about whether people in your target market see you as someone worth listening to. A college dropout might lack credibility in academic circles but have tremendous credibility among other entrepreneurs who built businesses without formal education. Credibility also compounds over time within niches. Someone who solves problems for restaurant owners will naturally understand that industry better than generalists. They'll speak the language, understand the challenges, and develop insights that broader consultants miss. This specialized credibility becomes a moat that's difficult for outsiders to cross. Access refers to your ability to reach and influence people within different markets. This includes your network, your platform, and your natural ability to connect with specific groups. Someone with a large social media following has different access than someone with deep relationships in a particular industry. Neither is better, but each creates advantages in different contexts. A former military officer might have incredible access within veteran communities, but struggle to reach teenage consumers. A popular blogger might influence thousands of readers, but have no credibility with enterprise buyers. Understanding your access helps you focus on markets where you can actually reach decision makers. The most profitable niches sit at the intersection of all three factors. You want markets where your skills solve important problems, where your credibility makes people listen, and where your access lets you reach buyers efficiently. When all three align, you're not just another vendor competing on price. You become the obvious choice. Finding this intersection requires experimentation rather than pure analysis. You can theorize about market opportunities, but you need real conversations with potential customers to understand what they truly value. The goal is to test multiple niches quickly to see where you gain the most traction with the least effort. Start by identifying 3 potential niches where you have some combination of skills, credibility, or access. These don't need to be perfect matches initially. You're looking for promising directions to explore, not final destinations. For each niche, commit to having in-depth conversations with at least 10 potential customers. These aren't sales conversations or casual chats. They're structured interviews designed to understand how people in each niche think about their problems, what solutions they've tried, and what they'd pay to fix their biggest challenges. You're listening for emotional intensity around problems, not just logical needs. Pay attention to the language people use to describe their struggles. Notice which problems make them lean forward with interest and which make them shrug. Watch for frustration when they describe current solutions. Listen for phrases like, "I hate having to," or "it drives me crazy when." These emotional responses often indicate problems people will pay to solve. More importantly, notice how people respond to you personally during these conversations. Do they immediately understand why you're qualified to help? Do they ask follow-up questions about your background? Do they volunteer additional information or try to end the conversation quickly? These reactions reveal whether your credibility resonates in each niche. After testing all 3 niches, compare your results. Look for the combination of high willingness to pay and low competition density. Willingness to pay shows up when people describe problems as urgent, expensive, or frequent. They use words like desperate or critical rather than nice to have. They mention specific amounts they've already spent on inadequate solutions. Competition density becomes clear as you understand each market. In some niches, potential customers rattle off dozens of existing solutions they've tried. In others, they struggle to name anyone addressing their specific problem well. Low competition doesn't mean no competition, but it means room for someone who truly understands the market. The winning niche often surprises people. It might not be the largest market or the most obvious fit for your background, but it's where your unique combination of skills, credibility, and access creates the greatest advantage. It's where customers see you as uniquely qualified rather than interchangeable. Once you identify this niche, resist the temptation to expand too quickly. Many wealth builders sabotage themselves by trying to serve everyone as soon as they find something that works. Instead, go deeper. Become known as the person who solves specific problems for specific people better than anyone else. This focus creates a compounding effect. As you solve more problems within your niche, you develop better insights, stronger relationships, and more refined solutions. Your reputation grows within that community. People start referring others to you automatically. What seemed like a limitation becomes your greatest strength. The goal isn't to stay small forever. It's to build such a strong position in your chosen niche that you can expand from a position of strength rather than desperation. When you dominate one corner of a market, adjacent opportunities become much easier to capture. Remember, every wealthy person you admire started by becoming exceptionally good at solving specific problems for specific people. They picked games they could win, then played them with complete commitment. The riches came not from serving everyone adequately, but from serving someone extraordinarily well. 3. Pain detective. Find problems people pay to remove money. Flows toward pain relief like water flows downhill. This is one of the most fundamental laws of wealth creation, yet most people get it completely backwards. They fall in love with their clever ideas, their innovative solutions, their brilliant inventions, and then wonder why the world doesn't beat a path to their door. The world doesn't care about your cleverness. The world cares about its problems. Think about every purchase you've made in the last month. Your morning coffee exists because you had the problem of being tired. Your favorite restaurant thrives because you had the problem of hunger combined with the problem of not wanting to cook. The mechanic who fixed your car earned money because you had the problem of unreliable transportation. The bookstore owner profits because people have the problem of boredom or the problem of ignorance about subjects they want to understand. Every dollar that exchanges hands represents someone's willingness to pay for the removal of discomfort, inconvenience, or dissatisfaction. The size of the payment corresponds directly to the intensity of the pain and the effectiveness of the relief provided. This is why emergency plumbers charge more than regular plumbers, why express shipping costs extra, and why people pay premium prices for solutions that save them significant time or stress. The wealthy understand this principle intuitively. They position themselves as pain detectives, constantly searching for problems that cause enough discomfort that people will pay substantial sums to make them disappear. They develop an almost supernatural ability to spot frustration, inefficiency, and unmet needs in every situation they encounter. Most people walk through life blind to the pain around them. Or worse, they notice problems but dismiss them as unsolvable or not worth addressing. The wealth builder sees these same problems as opportunities disguised as obstacles. Where others see complaints, they see customers. Where others see friction, they see profit potential. The key lies in understanding that not all pain is created equal. Some discomforts are merely annoying, while others are genuinely urgent and valuable to solve. The difference between building wealth and spinning your wheels often comes down to your ability to distinguish between problems people will pay to solve and problems they'll simply complain about forever. Valuable pain has specific characteristics. First, it's urgent. The problem demands immediate attention and cannot be easily postponed. Second, it's expensive. The cost of not solving the problem exceeds the cost of solving it, often by a significant margin. Third, it's frequent. The problem occurs regularly enough that a permanent solution represents ongoing value. Consider the business owner who loses thousands of dollars every hour when their equipment breaks down. This represents urgent, expensive, frequent pain. They will pay handsomely for rapid repair services, preventive maintenance programs, or more reliable equipment. Compare this to someone who finds their shoelaces slightly inconvenient to tie. While annoying, this problem lacks urgency, significant cost, or major impact on their daily life. The most successful wealth builders focus exclusively on problems that meet all three criteria. They understand that solving urgent, expensive, frequent problems allows them to charge premium prices, enjoy strong customer loyalty, and build sustainable businesses that grow over time. Finding these valuable problems requires a specific mindset and methodology. You must become genuinely curious about other people's frustrations and challenges. This means listening more than talking, asking deeper questions, and paying attention to what people complain about repeatedly. Most importantly, it means looking beyond what people say they want and focusing on what they actually need. People often don't know what they want, but they always know what bothers them. They may not be able to articulate the perfect solution, but they can describe their problems in vivid detail. Your job is to become an expert in translating their pain into profitable solutions. Start by observing the people around you with fresh eyes. Notice what slows them down, frustrates them, or causes them stress. Pay attention to the tasks they avoid, the situations they complain about, and the problems they mention repeatedly. Watch for patterns in their behavior that suggest underlying pain points they may not even consciously recognize. The most valuable problems often hide in plain sight. They're the inefficiencies that everyone accepts as normal, the frustrations that people assume are just part of life, the complicated processes that everyone navigates but nobody questions. These normalized pains represent the biggest opportunities because they affect many people but have been overlooked by potential solution providers. Professional environments offer particularly rich sources of valuable problems. Businesses face constant pressure to increase efficiency, reduce costs, and improve results. Any problem that interferes with these goals represents potential profit for whoever can solve it effectively. The larger the business, the more they'll pay for solutions that provide measurable improvements. Personal problems can be equally lucrative, especially when they involve health, relationships, security, or self-improvement. People will invest significant resources to protect their well-being, enhance their capabilities, or achieve their aspirations. The key is identifying problems that genuinely impact their quality of life rather than superficial wants that fade with changing trends. Once you identify potential problems, you must validate their true value. This means confirming that people actually will pay to solve them, not just complain about them. The difference is crucial. Many problems generate endless discussion but no financial commitment when solutions become available. True validation requires direct conversation with people who experience the problem. Ask specific questions about how the problem affects them, what they've tried before, and what solving it would be worth to them. Pay attention to their emotional response when discussing the problem. Genuine pain produces strong emotional reactions, while superficial annoyances generate mild responses. Most importantly, look for evidence of existing spending on partial solutions. If people are already paying money to address aspects of the problem, you've found validated pain. If they're only talking about it but not investing resources toward solutions, the problem may not be valuable enough to build wealth around. The goal is to develop a collection of problems that people describe in their own words, with specific details about the impact on their lives or businesses, and clear evidence that they represent genuine priorities worth paying to address. These validated pains become the foundation for creating offers that people find irresistible because they provide relief from genuine suffering. Pain intensity varies dramatically between different groups of people. A problem that barely registers with one person might represent a major source of stress for another. Your task is to match significant problems with the people who feel them most acutely. These become your ideal customers, the ones who will pay premium prices for effective solutions because the alternative is continued suffering. The wealthy don't create demand for their solutions. They find existing demand that's already looking for relief and position themselves as the most effective provider of that relief. This approach eliminates the need to convince people they have problems and allows you to focus entirely on demonstrating your ability to solve problems they already recognize and want to eliminate. 4. Irresistible offers. 10x value, 0 risk. The difference between wealth and poverty often comes down to a single moment. It's the moment when someone decides whether to say yes or no to what you're offering. Most people fail at this crucial point, not because their product is bad, but because their offer is weak. They present their goods or services like items on a shelf, hoping someone might notice. The wealthy understand something different. They craft offers so compelling that saying no feels like missing out on a life-changing opportunity. Think about the last time you made a purchase without hesitation. Perhaps it was a book that promised to solve a problem you'd been wrestling with for months. Maybe it was a service that guaranteed results in half the time you expected. What made you act wasn't just the product itself, but how it was presented to you. The offer made the value so clear and the risk so minimal that your decision became obvious. This is the science behind irresistible offers. Every wealthy person has mastered this art. Whether they realize it or not, they understand that an offer is not just what you're selling, but how you frame it, package it, and present it to the world. The formula is surprisingly simple. You want to maximize the dream outcome and the likelihood of success while minimizing the time delay and effort required from your customer. When you stack value properly, something magical happens. The perceived worth of your offer becomes dramatically higher than its actual price. Imagine someone offers you a reliable method to double your income within 6 months, complete with personal guidance, proven templates, a money-back guarantee, and access to a community of others doing the same thing. Even if the price is significant, the value proposition makes the decision easy because the potential return dwarfs the investment. The key lies in understanding what your customers truly want versus what you think they need. Most people selling goods or services focus on features and capabilities. They talk about what their product does rather than what it achieves for the person buying it. Wealthy thinkers flip this completely. They start with the end result their customer desires most and work backward to create an offer that promises exactly that outcome. Consider how risk affects every buying decision. When someone considers your offer, they're not just thinking about what they might gain. They're worried about what they might lose. They fear wasting money on something that won't work. They worry about looking foolish for believing promises that seem too good to be true. They hesitate because they've been disappointed before. The more you can eliminate or reverse these risks, the more irresistible your offer becomes. This is why guarantees are so powerful when used correctly. Not the weak kind that everyone ignores, but guarantees that actually mean something. Instead of promising to refund money if someone isn't satisfied, consider guaranteeing specific results. Promise that they'll save a certain amount of time, achieve a particular outcome, or learn a specific skill within a defined period. Then make it clear that if they don't get those results despite following your system, you'll not only refund their money but also compensate them for their wasted time. The art of bonus stacking transforms good offers into great ones. But this doesn't mean throwing in random extras that don't relate to the main promise. Instead, think about everything your customer needs to achieve their desired outcome, then include those elements as valuable additions. If you're helping someone start a garden, don't just provide seeds. Include the soil preparation guide, the seasonal planting calendar, the pest management system, and access to expert advice when problems arise. Each bonus should feel essential and valuable on its own. Timing creates urgency, and urgency drives action. People delay decisions when they feel they can make them later, without consequence. This is why scarcity and deadlines work so effectively, but only when they're genuine. False scarcity feels manipulative and damages trust. Real scarcity, however, reflects the natural limitations of time, attention, or resources. Perhaps you can only work with a certain number of people personally. Maybe the program requires seasonal timing to be most effective. Or the current price reflects a special situation that won't last forever. The most successful offers solve multiple problems at once, rather than addressing just one issue. When someone comes to you with a stated problem, they usually have several related challenges they haven't even mentioned. The person who wants to lose weight also wants more energy, better sleep, increased confidence, and clothes that fit properly. Address the obvious problem directly, then surprise them by solving the related issues they didn't even think to ask about. Social proof amplifies every other element of your offer. When people see that others have succeeded with what you're providing, their confidence increases dramatically. But not all social proof carries equal weight. The most powerful testimonials come from people who were initially skeptical, had failed with other solutions, or achieved results that seemed unlikely. These stories address the exact doubts and fears your prospects are feeling. Simplicity often trumps complexity when it comes to making decisions. If your offer requires extensive explanation or multiple steps to understand, you're asking too much of your prospect's attention. The best offers can be grasped immediately. Someone should be able to understand what you're providing, what result they'll get, and what they need to do next within seconds of hearing your proposition. Payment terms can dramatically affect how attractive your offer appears. A single large payment creates one psychological barrier. Multiple smaller payments create multiple opportunities for buyer's remorse. Sometimes the solution is structuring payments around value delivery rather than arbitrary time periods. Consider offering the first part of your solution immediately upon payment, with subsequent elements delivered as the customer achieves specific milestones. The frame you place around your offer matters as much as the content inside it. Are you selling a course? Or are you providing a transformation system? Are you offering consulting? Or are you delivering a custom solution? The words you choose shape how people perceive both the value and the price. Premium language justifies premium pricing, while commodity language forces you to compete primarily on cost. Testing different versions of your offer reveals which elements create the most impact. Present the same core solution with different bonuses, guarantees, or payment structures to different groups of prospects. Track not just who says yes, but how quickly they decide and how satisfied they are afterward. The fastest decisions usually come from the strongest offers, while delayed responses often indicate weak value propositions. An irresistible offer is not about manipulation or trickery. It's about clear communication of genuine value while removing legitimate barriers to action. When you truly believe in what you're providing and structure your offer to make the value obvious while minimizing risk, you're serving both your own interests and those of your customers. The wealth that follows comes naturally from this alignment of interests. Your offer is your gateway to wealth. Make it so compelling that saying no requires more effort than saying yes. Stack the value high, eliminate the risk, and present it with confidence. When you master this single skill, you'll find that money flows toward you with remarkable consistency. 5. Leverage stacks: code, content, capital, community. The difference between those who build lasting wealth and those who remain trapped in the cycle of trading time for money lies in understanding one fundamental principle: leverage. When you can multiply your efforts without multiplying your time, you have discovered the secret that separates the wealthy from the working. This is not about working harder or longer hours. This is about working in a way that your efforts continue to produce results long after you have moved on to other things. Think of leverage as a force multiplier for everything you do. When a farmer plants a single seed, that seed can grow into a tree that produces thousands of fruits over many years. The farmer does not need to replant that seed every day to continue receiving the harvest. The initial effort of planting and nurturing creates ongoing returns that compound over time. This is the essence of leverage, and it applies to wealth creation in 4 powerful ways: through code, content, capital, and community. Code represents any system, tool, or process that can work without your constant presence. This might be a simple automated process that handles repetitive tasks, a tool that solves problems for others, or a system that generates value while you sleep. The beauty of code lies in its ability to scale infinitely without requiring additional human effort. Once created and refined, it can serve one person or 1 million people with virtually the same amount of work from you. Consider how a simple calculator saves countless hours of manual computation for millions of people, or how a well-designed process can eliminate hours of confusion and inefficiency. The power of code extends beyond technology into any systematized solution. A recipe is code for creating a meal. A checklist is code for completing a complex task without errors. A template is code for producing consistent results. When you create systems that others can follow to achieve predictable outcomes, you have created a form of code that leverages your knowledge and experience across unlimited applications. Content represents your ideas, knowledge, and expertise captured in a form that can be shared and consumed repeatedly. Unlike a conversation that happens once and disappears, content continues to work for you indefinitely. A well-crafted piece of content can influence, educate, and persuade people you will never meet, in places you will never visit, at times when you are focused on entirely different activities. The magic of content lies in its ability to scale your voice and wisdom. When you solve a problem once and document the solution, that solution can help countless others facing the same challenge. Each person who benefits from your content receives value, and many will be willing to exchange money for access to more of your knowledge and solutions. Content builds trust and demonstrates expertise in ways that no amount of advertising or self-promotion can match. Content compounds in ways that most people never fully appreciate. Each piece of valuable content you create becomes a permanent asset that can attract attention, build relationships, and generate income for years or even decades. The key is creating content that remains relevant and valuable over time, focusing on fundamental principles and timeless wisdom rather than temporary trends or fleeting interests. Capital represents money that works to generate more money without requiring your direct involvement. This is perhaps the most obvious form of leverage, yet it remains mysterious to many people. Capital leverage means owning assets that produce income, appreciate in value, or both. The wealthy understand that money is not just a medium of exchange, but a tool that can be deployed to create more wealth. The power of capital leverage lies in its ability to multiply your wealth even while you sleep, travel, or focus on other activities. Money invested wisely can grow through the efforts of others, the natural expansion of the economy, or the increasing value of productive assets. The key to capital leverage is understanding the difference between assets and expenses, and consistently directing your resources toward things that generate returns rather than things that simply consume money. Capital leverage also includes using other people's money to amplify your own investments. When you can borrow money at a lower rate than the returns you can generate, you create a positive spread that multiplies your wealth-building capacity. This principle applies whether you are investing in real estate, businesses, or other income-producing assets. Community represents the network of relationships, trust, and mutual support that amplifies everything else you do. Humans are social creatures, and wealth creation is fundamentally a social activity. Every transaction involves at least two people, and every successful business serves a community of customers. When you can build and leverage community effectively, you tap into one of the most powerful forces for wealth creation that exists. Community leverage works because it enables you to benefit from the efforts, resources, and connections of many people rather than relying solely on your own capacity. A strong community can provide customers, partners, investors, advisors, and advocates who amplify your reach and impact far beyond what you could achieve alone. The most successful wealth builders understand that their community is often their most valuable asset. Building community requires giving value first and consistently. You cannot simply extract value from relationships without contributing value in return. However, when you consistently help others succeed, solve problems, and achieve their goals, you create a network of people who are motivated to help you succeed as well. This mutual support creates opportunities and opens doors that would otherwise remain closed. The key to effective leverage is understanding that these four types work best when combined rather than used in isolation. Code without community may create efficient systems that nobody uses. Content without capital may build large audiences that generate little income. Capital without code or content may provide returns but miss opportunities for exponential growth. Community without valuable content or useful systems may create relationships that lack depth or purpose. Your task is to identify which type of leverage represents your primary opportunity right now, while building capacity in the other areas over time. If you have deep expertise in a particular area, content leverage might be your starting point. If you have technical skills or enjoy creating systems, code leverage might be most natural. If you have accumulated savings or access to investment capital, capital leverage might offer the fastest path to wealth. If you naturally build relationships and enjoy helping others, community leverage might be your foundation. The most important thing is to begin building leverage assets immediately, rather than waiting for perfect conditions or complete understanding. Leverage compounds over time, which means the sooner you start, the more dramatic your eventual results will be. Start with small experiments and simple systems. Create your first piece of valuable content. Build your first automated process. Make your first leveraged investment. Begin nurturing your first community of people who share common interests or goals. As you develop your leverage assets, pay attention to how they can work together synergistically. Your content can attract community. Your community can provide capital. Your capital can fund the development of better systems and code. Your code can enable you to serve your community more effectively and create more valuable content. This virtuous cycle is how small initial efforts compound into substantial wealth over time. Leverage amplifies everything, including mistakes and poor decisions. This means you must be thoughtful and strategic about how you deploy leverage. Start small, learn from results, and scale what works while abandoning what does not. The goal is not to use leverage quickly, but to use it effectively and sustainably. The wealthy understand that time is their most limited resource, and leverage is the key to maximizing the value they can create within that constraint. Every hour you spend building leverage assets is an investment in your future wealth that will continue, paying returns long after the initial effort is forgotten. This is how you break free from the trap of trading time for money and begin building lasting wealth that compounds and grows regardless of how you spend your days. 6. Distribution is destiny. Own the channel, own the cash. The most brilliant product in the world means nothing if nobody knows it exists. You can solve the most painful problems, create the most irresistible offers, and build the most elegant systems. But without distribution, you might as well be shouting into an empty room. Distribution is the bridge between your value and the people who need it most. Master distribution, and money flows to you naturally. Ignore it, and watch lesser products with better distribution leave you behind. Most people think backwards about distribution. They build first, then scramble to find customers. They treat distribution as an afterthought, something to figure out after the product is perfect. This approach fails because distribution isn't just about getting your message out there. Distribution shapes everything about your business, from what you build to how you price it to whom you serve. The channel doesn't just carry your message, it becomes part of your message. Think about any wealthy person you know or have studied. Behind their success, you'll find they mastered one or more distribution channels better than their competitors. They didn't just have great products or services. They had reliable, predictable ways to reach people who wanted what they offered. They owned the pathway between problem and solution. Distribution comes in 3 fundamental forms, each with its own power and purpose. Earned distribution happens when others voluntarily share your message. This includes word of mouth, referrals, and organic sharing. Paid distribution means you pay for access to audiences through advertising, sponsorships, or partnerships. Owned distribution gives you direct access to people without depending on others or paying each time you want to reach them. Earned distribution feels the most authentic because it carries the endorsement of the person sharing it. When someone recommends your work to a friend, that recommendation carries weight no advertisement can match. But earned distribution is also the hardest to control and predict. You can create conditions that make sharing more likely, but you can't force it to happen. Paid distribution offers speed and scale. You can reach thousands of people quickly if you have the budget for it. But paid distribution requires constant investment, and the moment you stop paying, the flow of attention stops. It's like renting attention instead of owning it. Paid distribution works best when you have clear numbers on how much each customer is worth and how much it costs to acquire them. Owned distribution is the most valuable because you control it completely. This includes your email list, your customer database, your social media, followers, and any direct relationship you have with your audience. With owned distribution, you can reach people whenever you want without paying anyone else or hoping they'll share your message. Building owned distribution takes time, but it creates lasting wealth because it becomes more valuable as it grows. The key insight is that different products and services work better with different distribution channels. A high-end consulting service might thrive through referrals and personal networking, while a consumer product might need mass advertising to reach enough people. The product and the distribution channel must fit together naturally. This is called channel offer fit, and getting it right determines whether your business grows effortlessly or struggles to find customers. To find your ideal distribution channels, start by understanding where your ideal customers already spend their attention. Don't try to change their habits. Work within them. If they read certain sitters, publications, advertise in those publications. If they attend certain events, speak at those events. If they follow certain people, build relationships with those people. The goal is to position yourself in the path they're already walking. Most successful businesses eventually use multiple distribution channels, but they usually start by mastering one or two. Spreading yourself too thin across many channels often means you do none of them well enough to generate meaningful results. It's better to dominate one channel than to be mediocre across 5 channels. Email remains one of the most powerful distribution channels because it's owned media that reaches people directly in their personal space. Unlike social media platforms that can change their rules or disappear entirely, you control your email list. Building an email list should be a priority for almost any business because it creates a direct line to people who have expressed interest in what you do. Content creation, whether through writing, speaking, or media appearances, builds multiple forms of distribution simultaneously. Good content can earn shares and mentions, attract people to your owned channels, and provide material for paid advertising. The key is creating content that provides genuine value while naturally leading people toward your products or services. Personal relationships and networking create some of the strongest distribution channels because they're based on trust and mutual benefit. When someone in your network has a problem you can solve, you're often the first person they think of. These relationships compound over time as you help others and they help you in return. Partnerships and collaborations can give you access to distribution channels you couldn't build alone. When you partner with someone who already reaches your ideal audience, you can benefit from their distribution while providing value to their audience. The best partnerships create value for everyone involved, including the audience. The biggest mistake people make with distribution is treating it as a one-time effort. Distribution requires consistency and persistence. People need to see your message multiple times before they act on it. They need to trust you before they buy from you. This trust builds over time through repeated exposure to valuable content and positive interactions. Technology has created new distribution opportunities, but the fundamentals remain the same. You still need to provide value, build trust, and make it easy for people to take the next step. The specific tools and platforms may change, but the underlying principles of effective distribution are timeless. To build your distribution system, start by mapping out the complete journey someone takes from first hearing about you to becoming a customer. Identify each step in this process and look for ways to improve it. Where do people get stuck? Where do they drop out? What would make each step easier or more compelling? Create a content calendar that helps you stay consistent with your distribution efforts. Plan what you'll share, when you'll share it, and through which channels. This removes the daily decision-making about what to create and helps ensure you're regularly providing value to your audience. Measure what matters in your distribution efforts. Track not just how many people see your message, but how many take meaningful action. The goal isn't just attention. It's profitable attention from people who can and will buy what you're selling. Distribution is not about interrupting people or forcing your message on unwilling audiences. The best distribution happens when you provide so much value that people look forward to hearing from you. They voluntarily give you their attention because you consistently make their lives better. Building distribution takes time, but it's time invested in the foundation of lasting wealth. Every person who knows about your work, trusts your expertise, and values what you provide becomes part of your distribution network. They don't just buy from you, they tell others about you. This creates a multiplying effect that can accelerate your success far beyond what you could achieve alone. The wealthy understand that controlling distribution means controlling their financial destiny. They don't depend entirely on others to reach their market. They build their own channels, nurture their own audiences, and create their own opportunities. This independence gives them both security and unlimited upside potential. 7. Build systems, not busy work. The difference between wealthy people and everyone else is not intelligence, luck, or even talent. The difference is systems. Wealthy people build machines that work without them. Everyone else trades hours for dollars until they run out of hours. Think of your business like a clock. Every wealthy person you admire has built a clock that keeps perfect time whether they wind it or not. The gears turn, the hands move, and value gets created while they sleep. Most people, however, become the clock. They stand there moving the hands manually, hour after hour, day after day, wondering why they are exhausted and going nowhere. Systems are the invisible foundation of every fortune. They turn chaos into predictability, effort into output, and work into wealth. When you build systems, you stop being busy and start being productive. When you perfect systems, you stop working in your business and start working on your business. When you master systems, your business works without you. The most successful people understand a fundamental truth about human nature. We are terrible at remembering details, following complex procedures, and maintaining consistency over time. Our brains are wired for survival, not optimization. We forget steps, skip procedures, and make different decisions based on our mood, energy level, and what we had for breakfast. This is why relying on memory, motivation, and good intentions is a recipe for mediocrity. Systems solve the human problem. They capture the best version of your thinking when you are clear, focused, and strategic. They preserve that thinking in a format that works even when you are tired, distracted, or overwhelmed. They ensure that your business operates at its highest level regardless of who is running it or what is happening around it. Every system follows the same basic structure. First, you document exactly how something should be done. This means writing down every step, every decision point, every tool, and every resource required. You capture not just what to do, but why to do it, when to do it, and what good looks like when it is finished. This documentation becomes your standard operating procedure. Second, you delegate the system to someone else. This is where most people get stuck. They document their processes but never let go of doing them. They create detailed instructions but continue handling everything themselves because they believe they can do it better, faster, or with higher quality. This thinking keeps them trapped in the very busy work they are trying to escape. Delegation is not about finding people as skilled as you. Delegation is about finding people who can follow your systems well enough to produce acceptable results. The goal is not perfection. The goal is liberation. You want to free your time for higher value activities while maintaining consistent output in the areas you delegate. Third, you automate whatever parts of the system can be handled by tools, software, or technology. Automation removes human error, reduces costs, and increases speed. More importantly, automation scales infinitely. A person can handle 10 transactions or 100, but eventually hits a limit. An automated system can handle 10,000 transactions as easily as 10. The key is knowing what to automate and when. Automate tasks that are repetitive, rule-based, and high volume. Do not automate tasks that require judgment, creativity, or relationship building. Do not automate until you have proven the system works manually. Premature automation locks in bad processes and makes them harder to improve. Fourth, You optimize the system based on data and feedback. Every system can be improved. Every process has bottlenecks, inefficiencies, and opportunities for enhancement. The difference between good systems and great systems is continuous improvement. You measure cycle times, error rates, customer satisfaction, and cost per transaction. You identify the constraints that limit performance and focus your efforts on removing them. Optimization never ends. Markets change, customers evolve, and new tools become available. The systems that make you wealthy today will need updates to keep you wealthy tomorrow. The most successful people are constantly refining their systems, not because they are broken, but because they can always be better. Start with the processes that consume the most time or create the most value. These give you the biggest return on your systemization effort. Look for tasks you do repeatedly, decisions you make frequently, and problems you solve over and over. These are prime candidates for systemization. Common areas that benefit from systems include customer acquisition, order fulfillment, customer service, content creation, financial management, and quality control. Each of these areas contains dozens of smaller processes that can be documented, delegated, automated, and optimized. For customer acquisition, you might create systems for identifying prospects, making initial contact, qualifying interest, presenting offers, handling objections, and closing sales. For order fulfillment, you might systematize inventory management, order processing, shipping, tracking, and customer communication. For content creation, you might develop systems for research, writing, editing, publishing, and promotion. The power of systems compounds. Over time, each system you build makes the next system easier to create. Each process you improve makes the whole operation more efficient. Each task you delegate frees up time to work on more valuable activities. This creates an upward spiral where your business becomes more systematic, more profitable, and more independent of your daily involvement. Systems also create predictable results. When you know exactly what inputs create what outputs, you can plan with confidence. You can forecast revenue, schedule resources, and make commitments, knowing your systems will deliver. This predictability allows you to take on bigger opportunities, serve more customers, and scale faster than competitors who rely on improvisation. Most importantly, systems create options. When your business runs on systems rather than your personal involvement, you can step away without everything falling apart. You can take vacations, pursue other interests, or start new ventures. You can sell your business, hire a manager, or transition to an advisory role. Systems give you the freedom that most business owners never achieve because they never build themselves out of the daily operations. Systems are tools for multiplication, not replacement. The goal is not to remove yourself from your business entirely. The goal is to remove yourself from the routine, repetitive, and administrative tasks so you can focus on strategy, innovation, and growth. Systems handle the predictable so you can concentrate on the profitable. Your wealth is directly proportional to how systematically your value gets created and delivered. Build systems that work without you, and you build wealth that grows without you. 8. Compound everything: products, skills, relationships. The most powerful force in wealth creation is not intelligence, talent, or even luck. It is the relentless application of compound growth to everything you touch. Most people understand compounding when it comes to money in a savings account, but they miss the profound truth that compounding works equally well with products, skills, and relationships. The difference between those who build lasting wealth and those who struggle is simple. Wealthy people compound everything, while others start from scratch repeatedly. Think of compounding as nature's way of rewarding consistency and patience. A tree does not grow tall overnight, but each ring of growth builds upon the last, creating strength and height that would be impossible without the foundation beneath. Your wealth follows the same pattern. Every skill you develop, every relationship you nurture, and every product you improve becomes the foundation for the next level of growth. The compounding loop follows a simple pattern: create, measure, learn, iterate. This cycle, when repeated consistently, transforms small daily actions into extraordinary results. The key is understanding that each trip around the loop makes the next trip more powerful. Your first creation teaches you lessons that improve your second. Your second creation builds upon the relationships formed during your first. Your third creation benefits from the skills and connections developed through the previous two. Consider how this works with products. Your first offering might be rough around the edges, serving a small number of customers with limited success. But within that first product lies valuable information. You learn what customers truly want, what they will pay for, and what problems matter most to them. Your second product incorporates these lessons, serving customers better and attracting more of them. Your third product builds upon the reputation and understanding gained from the first two. Each product becomes easier to create, more effective at solving problems, and more profitable than the last. Skills compound in the same way. Learning to write clearly makes learning to speak publicly easier. Learning to speak publicly makes building relationships simpler. Learning to, quote, build relationships makes selling more natural. Each skill reinforces and amplifies the others, creating capabilities far greater than the sum of their parts. The person who develops skills in isolation will always struggle against the person who allows skills to compound together. Relationships may be the most powerful form of compounding because they grow in value for everyone involved. When you help someone solve a problem, you create value for them and build trust for yourself. That trust opens doors to new opportunities, which create more relationships, which lead to more opportunities. The person who helped you yesterday becomes the customer who buys from you today and the partner who invests with you tomorrow. Every positive interaction becomes the foundation for future interactions, each more valuable than the last. The magic happens when you compound all three simultaneously. Your improving skills help you create better products, which attract better relationships, which provide opportunities to develop new skills. The cycle feeds itself, growing stronger with each revolution. This is why successful people often seem to have luck follow them everywhere. They have created compounding loops that generate opportunities automatically. Setting up these compounding loops requires intentional weekly rituals. Learning must become as regular as eating. You cannot compound knowledge by reading one book per year or attending one conference per decade. The compound effect emerges from consistent, small investments in your understanding. Dedicate specific time each week to learning something new, whether through books, conversations with experts, or hands-on experimentation. The topic matters less than the consistency. Shipping new creations must also become routine. You cannot compound products or skills without putting work into the world where it can be tested and improved. Make a commitment to share something new each week, whether it is a piece of writing, small improvement to your offering, or a solution to a problem you have discovered. The act of shipping forces you to complete things and exposes you to the feedback necessary for improvement. Networking should feel less like collecting business cards and more like planting seeds in a garden you tend regularly. Reach out to new people each week, but more importantly, maintain contact with people you have already met. Send useful information, make valuable introductions, and offer help before asking for anything in return. The relationships that compound most effectively are those where value flows freely in both directions. Measuring your progress in each area keeps the compounding visible and motivating. Track how many new things you learn each month and how you apply that learning. Count how many new creations you share and what responses they generate. Monitor how many meaningful conversations you have and what opportunities emerge from them. Numbers make the invisible visible and help you spot patterns that would otherwise be missed. The hardest part of compounding is the beginning, when results feel small and progress seems slow. The first year of building products, skills, and relationships can feel frustrating because the gains appear modest. This is exactly when most people give up, not realizing they are abandoning their efforts just before the compound curve begins to steep upward. Persistence during this early phase separates those who achieve extraordinary results from those who remain ordinary. Understanding the mathematics of compounding helps maintain motivation during slow periods. If you improve just 1% each day, you become nearly 38 times better over the course of a year. If you build one new relationship each week, You have 52 new connections by year-end, each representing potential opportunities. If you create one new piece of content each week, you have 52 chances for something to resonate powerfully with your audience. Small, consistent actions create results that appear magical to outside observers. The compound effect works in reverse as well, which makes it essential to eliminate activities that create negative compounding. Relationships built on taking rather than giving eventually collapse and damage your reputation. Products that solve fake problems waste time and resources that could have been invested in real solutions. Learning that is never applied creates the illusion of progress without actual advancement. Identify the activities in your life that compound negatively and eliminate them before they undermine your positive momentum. Creating systems that support compound growth makes the process automatic rather than dependent on willpower. Build learning into your daily routine by reading during commute time or listening to educational content while exercising. Make creation easier by setting up workspaces and tools in advance, removing friction from the process of producing new work. Develop relationship maintenance systems that remind you to reach out to important people regularly and provide easy ways to add value to their lives. The beauty of compound everything lies in how it transforms your relationship with time. Instead of trading hours for money in a linear fashion, you invest time in assets that continue growing in value long after the initial work is complete. The product you create today can generate income for years. The skill you develop today can multiply your effectiveness in countless future situations. The relationship you build today can open doors you cannot yet imagine. This transformation from linear thinking to compound thinking represents perhaps the most important mental shift in wealth creation. Linear thinkers focus on immediate returns and direct connections between effort and reward. Compound thinkers focus on building foundations and creating systems that generate returns over time. Linear thinkers optimize for today. Compound thinkers optimize for the accumulation of many todays. Start your compounding journey this week by establishing simple rituals for learning, shipping, and connecting. The specific activities matter less than the consistency and the intention to build upon previous efforts rather than starting fresh each time. Set your weekly ship rate and relationship touchpoint targets. Then begin the patient work of letting small actions compound into extraordinary results. 9. Asymmetric bets. Small downsides, massive upsides. The most successful people in history understood a fundamental principle that escapes most others: the art of making intelligent wagers where you can lose a little but gain tremendously. This concept, known as asymmetric betting, forms the backbone of wealth creation and represents one of the most powerful tools in your arsenal for building lasting prosperity. Think of asymmetric bets as opportunities where your potential loss is clearly defined and relatively small, while your potential gain is virtually unlimited. When you plant a seed, you risk only the cost of that seed and the small effort required to plant it. Yet that tiny investment could grow into a massive tree, bearing fruit for decades. This is the essence of asymmetric thinking. Most people approach opportunities with symmetric thinking, where the potential gain roughly equals the potential loss. They might invest equal amounts of time and energy across various activities, expecting proportional returns. This approach keeps them trapped in mediocrity because it fails to recognize that not all opportunities are created equal. Some possibilities offer exponential returns, while others provide only linear gains. The wealthy understand that fortune favors those who can identify and act upon asymmetric opportunities. They consistently place small bets with limited downside risk but massive upside potential. When these bets pay off, the returns are so substantial that they more than compensate for the occasional losses from unsuccessful attempts. The barbell strategy provides an excellent framework for implementing asymmetric thinking in your wealth-building journey. Picture a barbell with weights on both ends and an empty middle. On one end, you place your safe, predictable investments and activities that protect your existing wealth and provide steady returns. These might include reliable income sources, conservative savings, or proven business models that generate consistent cash flow. On the other end of the barbell, you allocate a small portion of your resources to high-risk, high-reward opportunities. These are your moonshot bets, ventures that could potentially transform your financial situation entirely. The key insight is that you risk only what you can afford to lose completely, while maintaining access to unlimited upside potential. The magic happens in the selection and execution of these asymmetric opportunities. You must develop the skill to recognize when an investment of time, energy, or money offers disproportionate potential returns. This requires shifting your perspective from asking whether something will work to asking what happens if it does work beyond your wildest expectations. Consider the power of creating something once that can be sold repeatedly. When you develop a solution to a common problem, you invest your time and effort up front, but the potential returns compound infinitely as more people discover and purchase your solution. Your initial investment remains fixed while your potential returns grow exponentially with each new customer. Building relationships represents another form of asymmetric betting. When you help someone or make a genuine connection, you invest a small amount of time and energy. However, that relationship could open doors to opportunities worth thousands of times your initial investment. A single conversation or favor could lead to partnerships, referrals, or insights that transform your financial trajectory. Learning new skills also follows asymmetric principles. The time and effort required to master a valuable skill represent your downside risk. Once acquired, however, that skill can generate returns for the rest of your life. More importantly, skills often combine in unexpected ways, creating opportunities that would be impossible without that specific knowledge combination. The key to successful asymmetric betting lies in volume and selection. You must place multiple small bets rather than putting all your hopes on a single opportunity. This approach protects you from the inevitable failures while ensuring you capture the winners that more than compensate for the losses. Think of it as planting many seeds, knowing that only a few will grow into mighty trees, but those few will provide shade and fruit for generations. Speed becomes crucial in asymmetric betting because opportunities often have limited windows. The faster you can test ideas and identify winners, the more bets you can place and the higher your chances of capturing extraordinary returns. This requires developing systems for rapid experimentation and quick decision-making. Your mindset around failure must also shift when embracing asymmetric betting. Each unsuccessful attempt provides valuable information that improves your ability to identify better opportunities in the future. Failure becomes data rather than defeat, and this perspective allows you to maintain the courage necessary for continued betting on high-potential opportunities. The compound effect of asymmetric betting becomes apparent over time. As you consistently place intelligent bets and occasionally win big, your resources grow, allowing you to place larger and more numerous bets. Your network expands, giving you access to better opportunities. Your experience improves your ability to identify the most promising prospects. This creates a virtuous cycle where success breeds more success. Risk management remains essential even in asymmetric betting. You must never bet more than you can afford to lose on any single opportunity, no matter how promising it appears. The goal is to stay in the game long enough for the law of averages to work in your favor. One catastrophic loss can eliminate your ability to place future bets, so preservation of capital takes priority over maximizing individual returns. Pattern recognition skills become invaluable as you gain experience with asymmetric opportunities. You begin to notice common characteristics among the most promising prospects, perhaps certain market conditions, customer behaviors, or timing factors consistently appear before breakthrough opportunities emerge. This pattern recognition allows you to become increasingly selective and effective in your betting strategy. The social aspect of asymmetric betting should not be overlooked. Surrounding yourself with others who think asymmetrically creates access to opportunities you would never discover alone. These relationships also provide support and encouragement during the inevitable periods when multiple bets fail to pay off. Patience becomes a virtue in asymmetric betting, but it must be balanced with persistent action. While you wait for your bets to mature, you must continue placing new ones. The timeline for asymmetric returns is often unpredictable, so maintaining a steady pipeline of opportunities ensures you always have potential winners developing. Your wealth-building strategy should incorporate asymmetric thinking at every level. From daily decisions about how to spend your time to major investments of money and energy, always ask whether the potential upside justifies the limited downside risk. This mindset shift alone will dramatically improve your financial trajectory over time. The beautiful truth about asymmetric betting is that it stacks the odds heavily in your favor when applied consistently over time. While individual bets may fail, the mathematical certainty is that occasional massive wins will more than compensate for numerous small losses. This principle transforms wealth building from a game of chance into a systematic approach with predictable long-term results. 10. Stop trading time. Delegate, automate, productize. The greatest trap in the pursuit of wealth is the belief that your personal effort is your most valuable asset. This thinking keeps you locked in a prison of your own making, where every dollar earned requires another hour spent. The wealthy understand a fundamental truth that escapes most people. Time spent on low-value activities is the enemy of wealth creation. Your goal is not to work harder, but to transform how value is created in your business and life. Consider the baker who wakes before dawn to knead dough and tend the ovens. He works harder than almost anyone, yet his income is forever tied to his physical presence. Compare this to the baker who creates a recipe book, trains others to follow his methods, and receives payment for every loaf baked using his system. Both start with the same knowledge and skill, but only one builds wealth that grows independent of his daily effort. This transformation from personal labor to systematic value creation follows a specific pattern. The DAP ladder represents 3 ascending levels of wealth creation: delegate, automate, and productize. Each level removes you further from the day-to-day operations while increasing your capacity to generate value. Most people never progress beyond the first level, and many never even reach it. They remain trapped in what we might call the personal effort illusion. The first step up this ladder is delegation. This involves identifying the activities that consume your time, but could be performed by others at a lower cost than the value you could create elsewhere. The resistance to delegation usually stems from 2 false beliefs: that no one else can do the work as well as you can, and that delegation costs more than it saves. Both beliefs crumble under examination. The truth about delegation is that perfection is not the goal, efficiency is. If someone can perform a task at 80% of your quality but at 30% of your cost, and you can use that freed time to create value worth 3 times what you were doing before, the mathematics are clear. You gain both time and money. The baker who hires an assistant to knead dough while he develops new recipes and builds customer relationships has multiplied his capacity for value creation. To implement effective delegation, begin by tracking your activities for 1 week. Note not just what you do, but the approximate value each activity creates. You will likely discover that the majority of your time is spent on tasks that create relatively little value. These low-value activities are your first candidates for delegation. The key is to start small and learn the process before attempting to delegate critical functions. When you delegate, you must also create simple systems that allow others to achieve consistent results. This brings us to the second level of the ladder: automation. Automation means creating processes, tools, and systems that produce results without human intervention. While delegation replaces your effort with someone else's effort, automation replaces human effort entirely with systematic processes. The power of automation lies in its ability to scale without proportional increases in cost. A system that handles 10 transactions per day can often handle 100 transactions per day with minimal additional investment. This is how small improvements in systematic thinking create enormous advantages in wealth creation over time. Automation takes many forms, from simple checklists that ensure consistent quality to complex systems that handle entire business processes. The farmer who installs an irrigation system that waters his crops automatically has created a form of automation. He no longer needs to spend hours each day moving water manually, and the system often provides more consistent results than manual watering ever could. The path to automation begins with standardization. Before you can automate a process, you must first define exactly how it should work. This means documenting the steps, decisions, and outcomes that constitute success. Many people resist this documentation phase because it seems tedious, but it is the foundation upon which all automation is built. You cannot systematize what you have not first clarified. Once you have documented your processes, look for opportunities to remove human decision-making from routine situations. Most processes contain decision points that feel complex but are actually quite predictable. By creating rules for handling common scenarios, you can eliminate the need for constant human oversight while maintaining quality results. The highest level of the DAP ladder is productization. This involves packaging your knowledge, systems, or capabilities into products that can be sold repeatedly without reproducing the work each time. Productization transforms you from selling your time to selling solutions. The musician who records an album once but sells thousands of copies has productized his talent. Each sale requires no additional performance time, yet delivers the same value to the buyer. Productization requires a shift in thinking from custom solutions to scalable offerings. Instead of solving each customer's problem individually, you identify the common elements in the problems you solve and create standardized solutions that address these patterns. This might seem like it reduces your flexibility, but it actually increases your reach and impact while building wealth that compounds over time. The key to successful productization is understanding the difference between what customers want and what they need. Customers often believe they want customized solutions, but what they actually need is effective solutions. A productized offering that solves their problem effectively is far more valuable to them than a custom solution that costs more and takes longer to implement. Your job is to educate them about this distinction while demonstrating the superior value of your systematic approach. The journey up the DAP ladder is not always linear. You might automate some processes while still personally handling others, or create productized offerings while maintaining some custom services. The goal is not to eliminate all personal involvement immediately, but to steadily shift your time allocation toward higher value activities while building systems that generate value in your absence. One common mistake is attempting to automate or productize before mastering the underlying process through personal practice. You must first become excellent at creating the desired results manually before you can teach others or build systems to replicate those results. The baker must perfect his bread before he can train others or write effective recipes. This is why many attempts at premature systematization fail. Another crucial element is maintaining quality while scaling. As you move up the DAP ladder, you must implement feedback mechanisms that ensure your delegated, automated, or productized solutions continue to deliver the value your customers expect. This means creating measurement systems and regular review processes that catch problems before they damage your reputation or customer relationships. The psychological challenge of implementing the DAP ladder often exceeds the practical challenges. Most people derive identity and satisfaction from being personally involved in every aspect of their work. Learning to find fulfillment in building systems rather than doing tasks requires a fundamental shift in self-perception. You must learn to value effectiveness over activity and results over effort. The financial impact of successfully climbing the DAP ladder is transformational. Your income becomes decoupled from your time, allowing you to scale your value creation far beyond what any amount of personal effort could achieve. More importantly, you create assets that continue producing value even when you are not actively working, laying the foundation for true wealth accumulation. Start this transformation today by identifying the single activity that consumes the most of your time while creating the least value. Take action to delegate, automate, or productize this activity within the next 30 days. Measure your success not by how busy you remain, but by how much value you create relative to the time you personally invest. This is the path from trading time for money to building systems that create wealth. 11. Money math that matters. LTV, CAC, and cash flow. The difference between those who build lasting wealth and those who struggle lies not in how much they earn, but in how well they understand the numbers that drive their earnings. Most people focus on revenue while ignoring the mathematical principles that determine whether their efforts create genuine prosperity or merely the illusion of success. Every exchange of value follows predictable patterns. When you understand these patterns, you can design your activities to maximize the return on every dollar and hour invested. The wealthy have always known this secret. They measure what matters and optimize relentlessly around the numbers that compound their results. The foundation of wealth mathematics rests on 5 critical measurements that reveal the true health of any income-producing activity. Lifetime value shows you the total worth of each relationship you build. Customer acquisition cost tells you what you invest to earn that relationship. Payback period reveals how quickly your investment returns to you. Gross margin demonstrates the efficiency of your value creation. Cash conversion cycle exposes how money flows through your system. Lifetime value represents the total amount a customer will pay you across the entire duration of your relationship. This number captures not just their first purchase, but every subsequent transaction, every referral they generate, and every additional service they need over time. Most people dramatically underestimate this figure because they think in terms of single transactions rather than ongoing relationships. Consider a customer who pays you $100 monthly for your service. If they stay with you for 2 years and refer 3 other customers who each do the same, the lifetime value extends far beyond the initial $2,400. The referred customers multiply your return, creating a cascade effect that transforms modest relationships into substantial wealth generators. Customer acquisition cost encompasses every expense required to earn a new paying relationship. This includes not just advertising dollars, but the time spent creating content, the energy invested in networking, the resources devoted to building trust, and the effort required to close the sale. Many people fool themselves by counting only direct advertising costs while ignoring the hidden investments that make acquisition possible. The relationship between lifetime value and customer acquisition cost determines the sustainability of your wealth-building system. When you can acquire customers for less than 1/3 of their lifetime value, you create a money-making machine that funds its own growth. When this ratio falls below 3 to 1, you operate on dangerous ground where small changes in the market can eliminate your profits entirely. Payback period measures how long you must wait to recover your customer acquisition investment. Even with favorable lifetime value ratios, lengthy payback periods can strangle your cash flow and limit your ability to reinvest in growth. The ideal payback period stays under 12 weeks, allowing you to rapidly recycle your capital into acquiring more customers. Gross margin reveals the efficiency of your value creation process. This percentage shows how much profit remains after delivering your product or service before accounting for acquisition costs and overhead expenses. High gross margins indicate that you have built systems capable of scaling without proportional increases in costs. Low gross margins suggest that growth will require constant capital injection. The most overlooked metric, cash conversion cycle, tracks how long your money remains tied up in the process of creating and delivering value. This measures the time between when you invest in creating something valuable and when you collect payment for it. Shortening this cycle accelerates your wealth accumulation by allowing faster reinvestment of profits. Understanding these numbers transforms how you approach every aspect of your wealth-building activities. Instead of chasing revenue, you focus on creating systems that optimize these fundamental ratios. Instead of celebrating large sales, you measure whether those sales came at a sustainable cost. Instead of growing at any price, you ensure that growth strengthens rather than weakens your financial foundation. The mathematics reveal counterintuitive truths about building wealth. Sometimes raising prices increases profits even when it reduces sales volume because higher margins more than compensate for lower quantities. Sometimes slowing down customer acquisition improves long-term results because focusing on retention and referrals proves more profitable than constantly seeking new relationships. These principles apply whether you sell products, provide services, create content, or build any other form of value exchange. A consultant who understands these metrics can design service packages that maximize lifetime value while minimizing delivery costs. A creator who tracks these numbers can focus on content that attracts high-value audiences rather than pursuing vanity metrics like follower counts. The key insight is that sustainable wealth comes from creating systems where the mathematics work in your favor over time. This means building relationships that become more valuable as they mature, developing acquisition methods that improve with scale, and designing offerings that maintain healthy margins even as you serve more people. Most people never measure these critical numbers, which explains why they struggle despite working hard and creating genuine value. They operate blind to the mathematical forces that determine their success, making decisions based on intuition rather than data that could guide them toward better outcomes. Building your financial dashboard requires tracking these 5 metrics consistently and adjusting your activities based on what the numbers reveal. When lifetime value increases, you investigate what caused the improvement and replicate it. When acquisition costs rise, you examine your methods and eliminate inefficient approaches. When payback periods extend, you modify your offers or pricing to accelerate cash collection. The compounding effect of optimizing these ratios creates exponential improvements in your wealth-building capacity. Small increases in lifetime value multiply across all your customers. Modest reductions in acquisition costs free up capital for additional growth investments. Shortened payback periods accelerate the velocity of your reinvestment cycles. This mathematical approach to wealth creation removes emotion and guesswork from your financial decisions. The numbers tell you objectively whether your current path leads toward prosperity or merely keeps you busy. They reveal which activities deserve more investment and which ones drain your resources without adequate return. The wealthy maintain constant awareness of these metrics because they understand that sustainable riches flow from sustainable unit economics. They would rather build smaller enterprises with strong mathematics than larger operations with weak fundamentals, because they know that strong fundamentals compound while weak ones eventually collapse under their own weight. Master these 5 measurements and the mathematics of wealth creation will work for you rather than against you, transforming your efforts into a systematic approach to building lasting prosperity. 12. Price power, positioning, and premiums. The moment you understand that price is never about cost, everything changes. Price is a story you tell about value, and positioning is how you choose which story to tell. Most people think they compete on features, quality, or even service. The wealthy understand they compete on perception, and perception is shaped by the category you choose to occupy in someone's mind. When you walk into a shop and see 2 identical bottles of water, one priced at 50 cents and another at $3, your mind immediately creates a story. The expensive water must be purer, sourced from mountain springs, or contain special pleasant minerals. The truth is often that both came from the same municipal supply, but the expensive brand positioned itself differently. They told a different story about what their product represents. This principle applies to everything you might offer the world. Whether you provide services, create products, or solve problems for others, you have the power to choose which category you compete in. You can be the cheapest, fighting for scraps with everyone else who competes on price, or you can create your own category where you set the rules. The secret lies in understanding that people buy categories first, then brands, then features. When someone needs transportation, they first decide whether they want economy, luxury, or utility. Only then do they choose between specific options within that category. If you position yourself in the economy category, you will always fight on price. If you create or claim the luxury category, price becomes secondary to prestige and results. Consider how positioning shapes entire industries. A personal trainer charges $20 per session and competes with hundreds of others. A fitness coach charges $50 and focuses on accountability and programs. A transformation specialist charges $200 and promises complete lifestyle changes. A performance consultant charges $500 and works only with executives who need peak physical condition for demanding careers. Same core service, completely different positioning, vastly different prices. The key insight is that higher prices often increase demand rather than decrease it. This seems to violate common sense, but human psychology operates on signals and shortcuts. Price itself becomes a signal of quality, exclusivity, and effectiveness. When you charge premium prices, you signal to the market that you deliver premium results. This psychological principle works because people associate risk with their choices. When someone pays a low price, they expect little and often receive little. When they invest significantly, they pay attention, follow instructions, and often achieve better results simply because they are more committed. Your higher price becomes a feature that increases the likelihood of success. The process of repositioning begins with choosing your battlefield. Instead of asking how you can compete in an existing category, ask what new category you can create or claim. The goal is to become the obvious choice for a specific type of person facing a specific type of problem. Start by examining the language your current customers use to describe their situation before they found you. What words capture their frustration, their goals, their timeline? The category you create should speak directly to these feelings and aspirations. If people describe themselves as stuck and wanting to break through, you might position as a breakthrough specialist rather than a consultant. Next, study who charges the highest prices in adjacent spaces. What positioning allows them to command premiums? How do they describe their service differently? What promises do they make that others cannot or will not make? Look for patterns in how premium providers separate themselves from the crowd. The most powerful positioning often combines specificity with aspiration. Instead of helping people get organized, you help busy professionals create systems for peak performance. Instead of providing marketing services, you help businesses become the obvious choice in their market. The specificity makes you relevant to the right people, while the aspiration justifies premium investment. Your positioning must also pass the stranger test. If you describe your service to someone unfamiliar with your field, would they immediately understand why someone would pay your premium price? If the value is not obvious to an outsider, it will not be compelling to prospects who are comparing options. Testing new positioning requires courage, because it often means saying no to opportunities that do not fit. When you position as a premium provider, you must turn away low-budget prospects even when you need the revenue. This temporary discomfort leads to long-term prosperity as your reputation solidifies around the value you deliver to the right people. The conversation around price changes dramatically once your positioning is clear. Instead of justifying your fees, you help prospects understand whether they are ready for the investment required to get the results they want. You shift from convincing to qualifying, from selling to consulting. Premium positioning also changes how you deliver your service. When people invest significantly, they expect an experience that matches their investment. This might mean longer response times, more detailed communication, additional resources, or simply more attention to presentation and professionalism. The delivery must support the positioning. Many people resist premium positioning because they worry about losing customers. The truth is that you will lose some prospects, but you will gain better clients who value what you provide and pay accordingly. One client at premium prices often generates more profit and satisfaction than 5 clients at discount prices. The mathematics of premium pricing create a compounding effect on wealth. Higher margins provide more resources for improvement, marketing, and growth. Premium clients often refer other premium clients. The reputation for excellence attracts better opportunities. Success builds upon itself when you position for value rather than volume. Your positioning story must be consistent across every interaction. The words you use, the problems you highlight, the outcomes you promise, and the investment you require must all support the same narrative. Inconsistency confuses prospects and weakens your ability to command premium prices. Positioning is not about deception or manipulation. It is about choosing the most valuable way to frame the genuine results you provide. When you help someone achieve something important, you can position that help as basic service, professional expertise, or transformational partnership. The choice is yours, and it determines not only what you can charge but also how seriously people take your advice. The wealthy understand that price is power. When you can command premium prices, you control your time, choose your clients, and build something sustainable. When you compete on price, the market controls you. Positioning gives you the power to write your own rules and create your own category, where you become the obvious choice for people who value what you provide. 13. Tax and entities. Keep more legally. The ancient merchants of Venice understood something that escapes many modern wealth builders. Earning money is only half the battle. The other half is keeping it. While governments and tax collectors have existed throughout history, the principles of protecting your wealth from unnecessary erosion remain constant. The farmer who stores grain for winter survives, while the one who consumes everything during harvest perishes. Your relationship with taxes follows the same natural law. Most people approach taxes backward. They earn first, then figure out what they owe later. This reactive approach guarantees you'll pay more than necessary. Wealthy people think differently. They structure their affairs from the beginning to minimize tax burden while staying completely within legal boundaries. This isn't about avoiding obligations to society, but rather about not paying a penny more than the law requires. The foundation of keeping more of what you earn starts with understanding that different types of income receive different treatment under tax law. Money earned from your labor typically faces the highest rates. Money earned from investments often enjoys preferential treatment. Money earned through business ownership provides the most opportunities for legal deductions and deferrals. This hierarchy exists by design, encouraging certain behaviors that lawmakers believe benefit society. Your business structure determines how much freedom you have to minimize taxes. Operating as an individual limits your options significantly. Creating a proper business entity opens doors to legitimate deductions that aren't available to individuals. The right structure depends on your specific situation, but the principle remains universal. Structure matters more than most people realize. Consider the blacksmith who operates from his home workshop. As an individual, he can deduct very little. But if he forms a business entity, suddenly his workshop space, tools, materials, travel to customers, meals with suppliers, and continuing education all become potential business expenses. The same activities, the same income, but dramatically different tax consequences based solely on structure. Business entities also provide separation between your personal assets and business liabilities. This protection matters whether you're concerned about customer lawsuits, supplier disputes, or simple accidents. The merchant who separates his trading vessels from his personal estate can lose a ship to pirates without losing his family home. The timing of income and expenses creates another powerful opportunity. Understanding when to recognize income and when to claim deductions can shift money between different tax periods. Sometimes, deferring income to next year or accelerating deductions into this year creates substantial savings. The harvest analogy applies again. Knowing when to reap and when to sow affects your total yield. Retirement accounts and other tax-advantaged vehicles deserve special attention in your wealth-building strategy. These accounts allow you to defer taxes on money you save, letting it compound without annual tax drag. Some accounts even provide tax-free growth forever. The earlier you begin using these vehicles, the more dramatic their impact becomes. Business owners enjoy access to retirement vehicles not available to individuals. These often allow much larger contributions than standard accounts, creating opportunities to defer significant amounts of income while building long-term wealth. The key insight is that business income provides more flexibility than individual income in almost every aspect of tax planning. Record-keeping separates those who keep their wealth from those who lose it to avoidable taxes. Every business expense, every mile driven for business purposes, every business meal, every educational expense adds up over time. The merchant who tracks every transaction knows exactly where he stands. The one who keeps sloppy records pays penalties both in missed deductions and potential audit problems. Professional guidance becomes essential once your wealth-building activities reach a certain level. Tax laws change constantly, and the strategies that work for your neighbor might not work for you. A skilled professional pays for themselves many times over by identifying opportunities you'd miss and keeping you away from strategies that seem attractive but create problems later. Different states and localities treat business income differently. Sometimes relocating your business, or even your personal residence, can create substantial tax savings. This doesn't mean you should uproot your life to save on taxes, but understanding the differences helps you make informed decisions when other factors already point toward a move. International considerations become relevant as your wealth grows. Different countries offer different opportunities and restrictions. Even if you never plan to live elsewhere, Understanding how other jurisdictions treat various types of income can inform your domestic strategies. Estate planning intertwines closely with tax planning. The wealth you build during your lifetime will eventually transfer to others, either according to your wishes or according to government default plans. Proper planning ensures more of your wealth reaches your intended beneficiaries rather than disappearing to taxes and fees. The psychology of tax planning matters as much as the mechanics. Many people feel guilty about minimizing their tax burden, as if paying more somehow demonstrates greater virtue. This mindset costs them dearly. Using legal strategies to keep more of your earnings isn't selfish or unethical. It's responsible stewardship that allows you to provide better for your family and contribute more to causes you care about. Some people go too far in the other direction, chasing aggressive strategies that promise unrealistic savings. These approaches often create more problems than they solve. The goal is sustainable, legal tax minimization that doesn't consume excessive time or create audit risks. Simple strategies consistently applied usually outperform complex schemes over the long term. Your tax strategy should evolve as your wealth grows. The approaches that make sense when you're starting out may become inadequate as your income increases. Regular reviews ensure your strategy keeps pace with your success. Documentation protects everything you've built. Proper contracts, clear business purposes for all activities, and organized records create an unassailable foundation for your tax positions. The time invested in good documentation pays dividends both in tax savings and peace of mind. The compounding effect applies to tax savings just as it does to investment returns. Money kept from taxes can be reinvested to generate more income, which creates more opportunities for additional savings. This virtuous cycle accelerates wealth building significantly over time. Tax planning represents just one component of overall wealth building. Don't let the tail wag the dog by making business decisions based purely on tax consequences. The best tax strategy supports your wealth-building goals, rather than driving them. The wealthy understand that keeping more of what they earn requires the same systematic approach as earning it in the first place. Structure your affairs properly, track everything carefully, plan ahead consistently, and work with qualified professionals when the stakes justify their cost. These principles have preserved and grown wealth for centuries, and they'll continue working for those wise enough to apply them. 14. Protect the downside. Risk, insurance, contracts. The fastest way to lose wealth is not through bad investments or failed ventures, but through a single catastrophic event that could have been prevented. While most people chase the upside with reckless abandon, the truly wealthy understand that protecting what you have is just as important as growing it. Defense preserves compounding, and once you break the compounding cycle, it takes enormous effort to restart it. Think of wealth building like climbing a mountain. Every step forward represents progress, but one wrong move without proper safety equipment can send you tumbling back to the bottom. The higher you climb, the more you have to lose, which makes protection increasingly critical. The wealthy don't just build assets, they fortress them against the inevitable storms that life throws at everyone. Risk comes in many forms, and most people only prepare for the obvious ones while remaining completely vulnerable to the subtle but devastating threats. There are 4 main categories of risk that can destroy wealth: operational, legal, market, and personal. Each requires different types of protection, but all share one common characteristic. They can be managed and minimized with proper planning, yet they can be financially ruinous if ignored. Operational risk encompasses everything that can go wrong in your business or income-generating activities. This includes key person dependency, where your entire operation relies on one individual whose absence would cripple everything. It includes supplier failures, system breakdowns, fraud by employees or partners, and loss of critical business relationships. Many successful enterprises have been destroyed overnight because they had no backup plans for their most vulnerable operational points. The antidote to operational risk is redundancy and documentation. Never let your business depend on any single person, supplier, or system that cannot be quickly replaced. Document every important process so that knowledge doesn't walk out the door with departing personnel. Create backup relationships with alternative suppliers and partners before you need them. Establish financial controls that prevent any single person from having dangerous levels of access to funds or sensitive information. Legal risk might be the most underestimated wealth destroyer in modern society. Lawsuits, contract disputes, intellectual property theft, and regulatory changes can drain bank accounts faster than any market crash. The litigious nature of today's world means that anyone with visible wealth becomes a target for frivolous claims. And even winning a lawsuit can cost enormous amounts in legal fees and time. Protection against legal risk starts with proper business structure. Operating as a sole proprietor or in partnerships without liability, protection exposes your personal assets to business risks. Limited liability companies and corporations create barriers between business debts and personal wealth, though these barriers only hold if maintained correctly. Mixing business and personal finances, failing to maintain corporate formalities, or using business entities to commit fraud will eliminate legal protections. Contracts form the backbone of legal protection. Never conduct significant business without written agreements that clearly define expectations, responsibilities, and remedies for problems. Include dispute resolution clauses that require mediation or arbitration instead of expensive court battles. Specify which state's laws will govern the contract, preferably choosing states with business-friendly legal environments. Always have contracts reviewed by qualified legal counsel before signing, especially for large transactions or ongoing relationships. Intellectual property protection has become increasingly important as the economy shifts toward knowledge-based wealth creation. Whether you create products, content, or processes, protecting your intellectual property prevents competitors from stealing your innovations without compensation. This might involve patents for inventions, trademarks for brand names and logos, copyrights for creative works, or trade secrets for proprietary processes. The cost of protecting intellectual property is typically far less than the loss suffered when competitors copy successful innovations. Market risk represents the danger that economic conditions, industry changes, or competitive pressures will reduce the value of your assets or income streams. This risk can never be eliminated entirely, but it can be managed through diversification and defensive positioning. Never concentrate all your wealth in a single asset class, industry, or geographic region. Economic cycles affect different sectors differently, and what thrives in one environment may struggle in another. Personal risk encompasses threats to your ability to generate income, including disability, illness, death, or family emergencies. Most people dramatically underestimate their personal risks while overestimating their ability to handle them. A serious illness or injury can destroy decades of wealth accumulation in months, not just through medical expenses but through lost income during recovery periods. Insurance serves as the primary defense against personal risks, but most people either have inadequate coverage or pay for coverage they don't need. The purpose of insurance is to protect against catastrophic losses that would derail your financial plans, not to eliminate every minor inconvenience. Focus insurance spending on high-impact, low-probability events, while self-insuring against smaller, predictable expenses. Health insurance represents the most critical coverage for most people, as medical expenses can easily reach hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars for serious conditions. Don't just look at monthly premiums when choosing health coverage. Pay attention to deductibles, out-of-pocket maximums, and network coverage. Sometimes paying higher premiums for lower deductibles saves money in the long run, especially if you have ongoing health needs. Disability insurance protects your income-generating ability, which is typically your largest asset during your working years. Short-term disability covers temporary setbacks, while long-term disability provides income if you cannot work for extended periods. Many people have some disability coverage through employers, but this coverage often ends when you leave the job and may not provide adequate income replacement. Life insurance makes sense when other people depend on your income or when your death would create financial hardships for your family. Term life insurance provides maximum coverage at minimum cost for temporary needs, while permanent life insurance combines coverage with investment features. For most people, term insurance offers better value, especially during peak family responsibility years. Liability insurance protects against claims from people who sue you for causing injury or property damage. Auto liability coverage is required by law in most places, but the minimum required amounts often fall far short of adequate protection. Homeowners and renters insurance include liability coverage, but again, the standard amounts may not be sufficient for people with significant assets. Umbrella insurance provides additional liability coverage above your auto and homeowners policies, typically at relatively low cost. This coverage is especially valuable for people with substantial assets or high-profile careers that make them attractive lawsuit targets. The peace of mind from knowing you have several $1 million in liability coverage often justifies the small premium cost. Property insurance protects physical assets against loss or damage from various causes. Don't just insure for the purchase price of assets that appreciate over time. Regularly update coverage amounts to reflect current replacement costs. Consider whether you want actual cash value coverage that factors in depreciation, or replacement cost coverage that pays to replace items with new equivalents. Creating emergency funds provides self-insurance against temporary financial setbacks. Keep enough liquid savings to handle several months of expenses without requiring asset sales or debt. This emergency buffer prevents temporary problems from becoming permanent wealth destruction. Some experts recommend 3 to 6 months of expenses, but the right amount depends on your income, stability, and family situation. Documentation plays a crucial role in risk management. Keep detailed records of all assets, insurance policies, contracts, and legal documents. Store copies in multiple locations, including secure off-site storage. Create lists of account numbers, contact information, and passwords that trusted family members can access if needed. Update this documentation regularly as your situation changes. Estate planning protects wealth during the transfer from one generation to the next. Without proper estate planning, significant portions of wealth can be lost to taxes, legal fees, and family disputes. Basic estate planning includes wills, powers of attorney, and beneficiary designations on accounts and insurance policies. More complex estates may require trusts, business succession plans, and advanced strategies to minimize transfer costs. Regular review and updates keep risk management strategies current with changing circumstances. Insurance needs change as asset levels grow or family situations evolve. Legal structures that worked for small operations may become inadequate as businesses expand. Market conditions shift, requiring adjustments to diversification strategies. Schedule annual reviews of all risk management measures and make updates as needed. The cost of comprehensive risk management might seem expensive, but it's always less than the cost of the disasters it prevents. Think of risk management as an investment that pays negative returns most of the time, but provides enormous positive returns during the rare occasions when you need it. The goal is not to eliminate all risks, which is impossible and expensive, but to eliminate the risks that could end your wealth-building journey permanently. Focus protection efforts on the catastrophic events that would be impossible to recover from, while accepting smaller risks that you can handle from your own resources. 15. Recession-proof. Anti-fragile income streams. When economic storms hit, most people batten down the hatches and wait for clear skies. They cut expenses, hoard cash, and pray their jobs survive the downturn. But the wealthy think differently during tough times. They see opportunity where others see disaster. They understand a fundamental truth about building lasting riches. The best income streams don't just survive economic pressure, they actually grow stronger because of it. This is the concept of anti-fragility applied to wealth creation. An anti-fragile income stream doesn't merely endure stress and uncertainty, it feeds on chaos and emerges more powerful than before. While your competitors are laying off workers and slashing budgets, your revenue machine is gaining market share and deepening customer relationships. The very forces that destroy fragile businesses become the fuel that powers your growth. Most people build fragile income streams without realizing it. They depend entirely on one employer, one client, or one type of customer who all react the same way to economic pressure. When times get tough, everyone cuts back simultaneously, and the income disappears overnight. The freelancer loses all their clients at once. The consultant watches as companies freeze their budgets. The retailer sees customers stop buying anything but essentials. The wealthy construct their income differently. They follow what we can call the barbell approach to revenue streams. On one side of the barbell, they place steady, predictable income that pays the bills month after month regardless of economic conditions. On the other side, they position income sources that actually benefit when others are struggling. The combination creates a foundation that cannot be shaken by external forces. The stable side of your income barbell consists of recurring revenue streams tied to essential human needs. People need food, shelter, safety, and connection, even during the worst economic times. Sometimes they need these things more desperately when everything else feels uncertain. If you can position yourself as the provider of something truly necessary, your income becomes as reliable as human nature itself. Consider the power of recurring subscriptions tied to basic business operations. Companies may cut marketing budgets and delay equipment purchases, but they still need to process payments, communicate with customers, and maintain basic operations. The business that provides these essential services at a fair price builds an income stream that flows regardless of economic weather. Customers might complain about the monthly fee, but they keep paying because stopping would hurt them more than the cost. Personal services that address fundamental human needs follow the same pattern. People still need their hair cut, their cars repaired, and their health maintained during recessions. They may delay some purchases or look for better deals, but the underlying demand remains strong. The service provider who builds a loyal customer base around genuine necessity creates income that persists through any economic cycle. The other side of your income barbell requires a different kind of thinking. Instead of seeking stability, you want to identify opportunities that increase when times get tough. Economic pressure creates specific problems that didn't exist during good times. People need new solutions, different approaches, and alternative ways of doing things. The person who provides these solutions can build income streams that surge exactly when everyone else is struggling. Distressed situations create enormous opportunities for those positioned to help. When companies face cash flow problems, they need consultants who can optimize operations and cut costs intelligently. When people worry about their financial future, they seek education and training that can improve their prospects. When entire industries face disruption, businesses need guidance on adapting to new realities. The helper, who specializes in crisis situations, builds income that peaks during the worst economic storms. The key insight is that economic downturns don't destroy wealth, they redistribute it. Money doesn't vanish during recessions, it flows from some pockets to others. The businesses and people who lose money during tough times are paying someone else to solve their problems or acquire their assets at reduced prices. Your goal is to position yourself as the receiver of these flows rather than the one watching money drain away. Building truly anti-fragile income requires understanding how different customer segments behave under pressure. Wealthy people and profitable companies often increase their spending during recessions because they can acquire assets cheaply and gain competitive advantages while others retreat. Government entities may actually expand certain types of spending to stimulate economic activity. Entire industries sometimes grow during downturns because they serve the specific needs that economic pressure creates. The timing of when you build these income streams matters enormously. You cannot wait until the economic storm arrives to start construction. Anti-fragile income streams require careful positioning and relationship building during good times so they can activate when conditions deteriorate. The consultant who builds expertise in turnaround situations needs to establish credibility and connections before companies desperately need help. The service provider who wants to capture market share from failing competitors needs systems and capacity ready to scale quickly. Your existing skills and knowledge probably contain the seeds of multiple anti-fragile income streams if you examine them from this perspective. The marketing expert might specialize in helping businesses maintain sales during tough times. The technology person could focus on automation tools that help companies reduce labor costs. The financial professional might develop services around debt restructuring or cash flow optimization. The key is shifting your positioning from general expertise to crisis-specific solutions. Recurring income streams become more powerful when they incorporate anti-fragile elements. Instead of just collecting monthly fees for ongoing services, structure the relationship so you benefit when your customers face challenges. The business consultant who takes a percentage of cost savings discovered creates income that increases when clients face the most pressure. The marketing specialist, who focuses on recession-resistant customer segments, builds recurring revenue that strengthens when competitors struggle. Testing your income streams for anti-fragile qualities requires honest assessment of what happens to your revenue when your customers face different types of stress. Economic downturns represent just one form of pressure. Industry disruption, regulatory changes, technological shifts, and social changes all create different patterns of challenge and opportunity. The most robust income streams remain strong or grow stronger across multiple types of disruption. Geographic diversification adds another layer of anti-fragility to your income portfolio. Economic problems rarely affect all regions simultaneously or equally. The income streams that draw from customers across different locations and economic systems create natural hedging against localized downturns. Global reach used to require enormous resources, but modern communication and payment systems make it accessible to individual wealth builders. Currency diversification works similarly for those who can structure their income across different monetary systems. When one currency weakens, others often strengthen, creating natural balance in your total income picture. This applies not just to foreign exchange, but to different stores of value that perform differently under various economic conditions. The most sophisticated wealth builders create income streams that benefit from volatility itself rather than betting on specific directions of change. These approaches recognize that uncertainty and instability create opportunities for those positioned to take advantage of rapid shifts in market conditions. The key is building systems that can respond quickly to changing circumstances rather than requiring prediction of specific future events. Your path to anti-fragile income streams starts with analyzing your current revenue sources through this new lens. Identify which sources would strengthen or weaken under different types of economic pressure. Look for opportunities to modify existing income streams to make them more resilient or countercyclical. Begin developing at least one income source specifically designed to benefit from the problems that economic pressure creates for others. The wealth that survives and grows across generations almost always includes significant anti-fragile elements. These income streams compound their advantages over any time because they gain strength from the very forces that weaken competitors. While others rebuild from scratch after each economic cycle, your anti-fragile income streams emerge stronger and better positioned for the next phase of growth. Building recession-proof income streams is not about predicting the future or timing market cycles. It is about understanding the fundamental patterns of how value flows during different economic conditions and positioning yourself to capture those flows regardless of whether times are good or challenging. The result is income that gives you confidence and options no matter what economic weather lies ahead. 16. Brand is trust. Become a magnet for money. Money flows toward trust, like water flows downhill. In a world overflowing with options, promises, and claims, trust becomes the ultimate currency. Your brand is not your logo or your clever tagline. Your brand is the accumulated trust you have built with the market. When people trust you, they buy from you. When they trust you deeply, they seek you out. When they trust you completely, they become advocates who bring others to you. This is how you transform from someone chasing customers to someone customers chase. Trust operates on compound interest, just like money does. Each positive interaction, each promise kept, each value delivered adds to your trust account. Over time, this account grows not just through your direct actions, but through the referrals and recommendations of those who trust you. One trusted relationship creates two, two creates four, and the multiplication continues. This is why established players in any market seem to win effortlessly while newcomers struggle for every customer. They are not necessarily better, but they have built more trust over time. The foundation of trust is proof. People believe what they can verify. When you make claims about what you can deliver, you must back those claims with evidence that cannot be disputed. This evidence comes in many forms, but the most powerful is results you have created for others. Before someone trusts you with their money, they want to see how you have handled the money and problems of people like them. They want stories, examples, and testimonials from real people who took the same leap of faith they are considering. Creating proof requires you to document and share your work in ways that make your value visible. Many people do excellent work but fail to capture and communicate the results they create. They solve problems, deliver value, and move on to the next challenge without stopping to measure and record what happened. This is a costly mistake. Every success story is a future marketing asset. Every positive outcome is evidence that builds trust with future prospects. The work you do today creates the proof that sells tomorrow. Consistency is the engine that powers long-term trust building. Trust is not built through spectacular one-time events, but through reliable, steady performance over time. When people know what to expect from you and you deliver it predictably, they begin to rely on you. Reliability becomes trust, and trust becomes loyalty. This means you must show up regularly, communicate clearly, and deliver consistently on the promises you make, even when those promises seem small. The most effective way to build trust through consistency is to commit to regular communication with your audience. This could be through writing, speaking, or creating content that demonstrates your knowledge and approach. The key is not perfection, but persistence. A weekly letter that shares insights, challenges, and lessons learned is worth more than a monthly masterpiece. People connect with those they feel they know, and familiarity comes through frequent, authentic contact. Your community becomes your greatest trust multiplier. When people who trust you recommend you to others, that recommendation carries far more weight than anything you could say about yourself. Word-of-mouth marketing is powerful precisely because it transfers trust from one person to another. The person making the recommendation puts their own reputation on the line, so people listen differently when a trusted friend suggests a solution versus when a stranger makes a sales pitch. Building a community of advocates requires you to give them reasons to share your work and tools to make sharing easy. This means delivering results that exceed expectations and making your customers feel proud to be associated with you. It also means providing them with language, stories, and resources they can use to explain your value to others. When someone has a great experience with you, make it simple for them to tell others about it. The speed of trust building accelerates when you build in public. Rather than hiding your process and only revealing finished products, you can share the journey of creating value. This might mean documenting how you solve problems for clients, sharing lessons learned from failures, or explaining the thinking behind your decisions. When people can see how you work and think, they develop confidence in your approach before they even hire you. Building in public also demonstrates authenticity, which is essential for trust. People can sense when someone is performing versus when they are being genuine. Authenticity is not about sharing every detail of your personal life, but about being honest about your methods, your challenges, and your learning process. When you admit what you do not know and show how you figure things out, people trust you more than if you pretend to have all the answers. Your reputation precedes you in every conversation and transaction. This reputation is built through countless small interactions over time. How you respond to problems, how you treat people when things go wrong, and how you conduct yourself when no one is watching all contribute to the story people tell about you. In connected markets, this story travels fast and far. Someone you have never met may already have an opinion about you based on what others have shared. Managing your reputation requires you to think beyond individual transactions to long-term relationships. Sometimes this means making decisions that cost money in the short term but build trust over the long term. It might mean refunding a customer who is not satisfied, even when you delivered what was promised. It might mean recommending a competitor when you are not the right fit. These actions cost money immediately, but create advocates who are worth far more over time. The credibility stack is built through 3 layers: proof of results, consistency of performance, and community of advocates. Each layer reinforces the others. Your proof gives people a reason to try you once. Your consistency gives them a reason to stick with you. Your community gives others a reason to trust you before they even meet you. All 3 working together create a magnetic effect where opportunities and customers come to you instead of you having to chase them. Trust also requires transparency about your process and pricing. People are naturally suspicious of black boxes and hidden costs. When you clearly explain how you work, what they can expect, and what everything costs, you remove uncertainty and friction from their decision-making process. This transparency becomes a competitive advantage because many providers hide behind vague promises and unclear terms. The ultimate test of trust is whether people would recommend you to their friends. This recommendation requires them to risk their own reputation on your performance. When someone is willing to make that risk, you have achieved true trust. These advocates become your most valuable business asset because they can open doors and create opportunities that no amount of advertising can match. Building trust takes time, but destroying it happens instantly. One broken promise, one poor experience, or one moment of poor judgment can undo years of careful relationship building. This is why protecting trust must become a priority in every decision you make. Before you commit to something, ask whether you can deliver it excellently and consistently. Before you make a promise, ensure you have the resources and systems to keep it. The compound effect of trust means that each day you have the opportunity to make deposits in your trust account with the market. These deposits accumulate over time and create opportunities you cannot yet see. The person who trusts you today may not buy from you for years, but when they are ready, they will think of you first. The investment you make in building trust today creates options and advantages for decades to come. 17. The speed advantage. Learn faster than the market. The difference between those who accumulate wealth and those who struggle is not intelligence, connections, or starting capital. It is the speed at which they learn and adapt to changing conditions. In the race toward riches, velocity trumps volume every time. The person who learns fastest wins, regardless of their initial advantages or disadvantages. Think of learning as a muscle that grows stronger with deliberate exercise. Most people approach learning passively, hoping that wisdom will somehow accumulate through osmosis. They read books without applying the lessons, attend seminars without implementing the strategies, and wonder why their financial situation remains unchanged. The wealthy understand that learning is an active, aggressive pursuit that requires systematic practice and immediate application. The marketplace rewards those who can spot patterns before others, who can recognize opportunities while they are still forming, and who can pivot quickly when circumstances shift. This ability comes from developing what military strategists call the OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, and act. This framework, originally designed for fighter pilots who needed to outmaneuver enemy aircraft, applies perfectly to the pursuit of wealth. Observation is the foundation of fast learning. Most people observe passively, letting information wash over them without truly absorbing its implications. Wealthy people observe with intention. They watch market behaviors, study customer reactions, and pay attention to subtle shifts in demand. They notice what others ignore because they have trained themselves to look for specific patterns that indicate opportunity or danger. Effective observation requires curiosity combined with skepticism. Curiosity drives you to investigate interesting phenomena, while skepticism prevents you from accepting surface explanations. When you see a competitor succeeding, do not simply admire their results. Dig deeper. What specific actions led to their success? What market conditions made those actions effective? What assumptions are they making that might be wrong? This level of observation turns everyday experiences into valuable intelligence. Orientation is where most people stumble in their learning process. They collect information but fail to organize it into a coherent understanding of their situation. Orientation means stepping back from individual data points and seeing the larger picture. It means understanding how various forces interact to create current conditions and how those conditions might change. The wealthy develop mental models that help them orient quickly to new situations. They understand fundamental principles of human behavior, market dynamics, and value creation. When they encounter new information, they can rapidly fit it into their existing framework or recognize when their framework needs updating. This prevents them from being overwhelmed by complexity or paralyzed by uncertainty. Decision-making separates those who learn from those who merely accumulate information. Learning without decisions is just entertainment. The wealthy make decisions rapidly based on incomplete information because they understand that the cost of delay often exceeds the cost of being partially wrong. They would rather make a good decision quickly than a perfect decision slowly. Fast decision-making requires accepting uncertainty as a permanent condition rather than a problem to be solved. You will never have complete information. Markets will always contain unknowable variables. Customer behavior will always include unpredictable elements. The goal is not to eliminate uncertainty, but to make sound decisions despite it. This means developing judgment about what information is essential versus what is merely interesting. Essential information directly affects your ability to create value or avoid significant risks. Everything else is distraction. The wealthy become ruthless about focusing their attention on essential information while ignoring the noise that captivates less successful people. Action completes the learning loop and provides the feedback necessary for improvement. Without action, observation, orientation, and decision-making remain academic exercises. Action transforms hypotheses into experience and reveals which assumptions are valid and which are mistaken. The key to productive action is designing experiments that provide clear feedback quickly. Rather than making massive commitments based on untested assumptions, wealthy people make small, reversible commitments that allow them to learn without risking everything. They test ideas in controlled environments before scaling up. These experiments should be designed to answer specific questions about customer behavior, market demand, or operational efficiency. Each experiment should have clear success criteria established before it begins. This prevents the common mistake of interpreting ambiguous results in whatever way confirms your existing beliefs. Speed in the OODA loop comes from running these cycles frequently rather than trying to complete each cycle perfectly. A person who completes 10 learning cycles per month will outperform someone who completes 1 perfect cycle per month. Frequency creates momentum, and momentum creates opportunities that would not exist for slower-moving competitors. The daily learning ritual forms the foundation of sustained speed advantage. This involves setting aside time each day specifically for observation and reflection. During this time, you review what happened in your business or investments, what worked, what did not work, and what questions emerged that need investigation. This is not passive review but active analysis. What patterns do you notice in customer behavior? What market signals are you seeing that others might miss? What assumptions did you make that proved incorrect? What new experiments should you run based on today's observations? This daily practice develops your ability to extract maximum learning from every experience. Weekly experiment cycles accelerate the learning process by ensuring that insights lead to action quickly. Each week, design and launch at least one small experiment based on your recent observations. These experiments should be designed to test specific assumptions about your market, your customers, or your methods. The experiments need not be complex or expensive. They might involve testing different pricing structures with a small group of customers, trying a new approach to a recurring problem, or exploring a potential new market segment. The goal is to generate data that will inform better decisions next week. Documentation amplifies the value of your learning by preventing you from repeating the same mistakes or forgetting valuable insights. Wealthy people keep detailed records of their experiments, including what they expected to happen, what actually happened, and what they learned from the difference. This documentation serves multiple purposes. It prevents you from falling into the same traps repeatedly. It helps you identify patterns that might not be obvious from individual experiences. It allows you to build on previous discoveries rather than starting from zero each time. Most importantly, it creates a database of tested knowledge that becomes increasingly valuable over time. The compound effect of learning speed becomes apparent over longer time periods. Someone who learns 10% faster each month will not seem dramatically different after 3 months. After 3 years, the gap becomes substantial. After a decade, they will appear to possess almost supernatural business instincts, but those instincts are simply the result of processing many more learning cycles than their slower competitors. This speed advantage becomes self-reinforcing as you develop better judgment, stronger pattern recognition, and more accurate mental models. Each cycle becomes more productive because you know what to look for and how to interpret what you find. You begin to anticipate market changes before they become obvious to others. The ultimate Goal is developing the ability to learn from other people's experiences as well as your own. This dramatically accelerates your learning speed because you can benefit from thousands of experiments without conducting them personally. You can study the successes and failures of others, extract the underlying principles, and apply those principles to your own situation. This requires developing the skill of translating lessons across different contexts. A marketing strategy that worked in one industry might be adaptable to a completely different field. A management technique that succeeded in a large organization might be scalable down to a small operation. The ability to recognize these transferable patterns multiplies your effective learning speed. The person who masters the speed of learning gains an unassailable advantage in wealth creation. They spot opportunities earlier, adapt to changes faster, and avoid costly mistakes that slow down their competitors. They build wealth not through superior intelligence or luck, but through superior learning velocity applied consistently over time. 18. The 90-Day Wealth Sprint. From Zero to Momentum. Everything you have learned in this book converges into one truth. Wealth is not built through grand gestures or miraculous windfalls, but through focused execution sustained over time. The difference between those who dream of riches and those who create them lies not in their circumstances, but in their willingness to commit to systematic action. This chapter presents your blueprint for the next 90 days, a period carefully designed to generate the momentum that will carry you toward lasting prosperity. The number 90 holds special significance in the creation of wealth. It represents roughly one season of the year, long enough for compound effects to take hold, yet short enough to maintain intense focus without burnout. Within this time frame, you can establish systems that will serve you for years to come. Think of these 13 weeks as your laboratory, where theories transform into tangible results and where the principles you have studied become the practices that define your daily life. The foundation of your wealth sprint rests on 3 pillars, each representing a different aspect of value creation. Your first pillar involves building one leverage asset, a creation that multiplies your efforts beyond the hours you personally invest. Your second pillar requires establishing one distribution engine, a systematic method for reaching the people who need what you offer. Your third pillar demands crafting one premium offer, a solution so valuable that people gladly pay significant amounts to obtain it. These 3 pillars work together in harmony. Your leverage asset might be a training program that solves a recurring problem for your chosen market. Your distribution engine could be a weekly publication that shares insights and builds trust with potential buyers. Your premium offer might be personalized guidance that helps people implement what you teach. Each element strengthens the others, creating a system that generates increasing value over time. The beauty of this approach lies in its simplicity. Rather than attempting to master dozens of strategies simultaneously, you concentrate your energy on 3 specific outcomes. This focus prevents the scattered thinking that destroys so many wealth-building efforts. When you know exactly what you must accomplish, decision-making becomes clearer, and every action either moves you toward your goals or away from them. Your leverage asset serves as the cornerstone of sustainable wealth creation. This asset works for you while you sleep, multiplies your impact beyond your physical presence, and creates value that compounds over time. It might take the form of written materials that teach valuable skills, recorded presentations that solve common problems, or systems that automate repetitive tasks for your market. The key characteristic of any leverage asset is its ability to generate results without requiring your constant attention. Building this asset requires careful attention to your market's most pressing needs. You must understand not just what people want, but what they struggle to achieve on their own. Your leverage asset bridges the gap between their current situation and their desired outcome. It provides structure, clarity, and guidance that they cannot easily obtain elsewhere. The more effectively your asset solves genuine problems, the more valuable it becomes and the more willingly people will exchange money for access to it. Your distribution engine represents your systematic approach to reaching the people who will benefit most from what you offer. This engine operates on the principle of consistent value delivery. Rather than sporadic attempts to gain attention, you establish a rhythm of sharing insights, solving problems, and demonstrating expertise. This consistency builds trust, which forms the foundation of all profitable relationships. The most effective distribution engines combine teaching with subtle demonstration of your capabilities. You share knowledge that helps people improve their situation while simultaneously proving your competence in your chosen field. This approach attracts people who recognize quality and are willing to invest in premium solutions. It also filters out those who seek only free information without serious commitment to change. Your distribution engine must align with both your strengths and your market's preferences. Some people excel at written communication and thrive through newsletters or articles. Others shine in spoken formats like presentations or conversations. Still others work best through visual demonstrations or hands-on teaching. The key is consistency in delivery and value in content, regardless of the specific format you choose. Your premium offer represents the culmination of your leverage asset and distribution engine. This offer provides intense value to a smaller group of people who are ready to invest significantly in solving their problems. It typically involves more personalized attention, faster results, or access to exclusive resources. The premium nature of this offer allows you to generate substantial revenue from fewer customers, creating efficiency in your business model. Crafting a premium offer requires deep understanding of your market's willingness to pay for different types of solutions. People pay premium prices when they perceive exceptional value, reduced risk, or accelerated results. Your offer must deliver on at least one of these dimensions, and preferably all three. The best premium offers make the decision to purchase feel inevitable rather than difficult. The structure of your 90-day sprint follows a specific rhythm designed to maintain momentum while preventing overwhelm. Your first month focuses on research and foundation building. You deepen your understanding of your market's needs, identify the specific problems your leverage asset will solve, and begin creating the core content or systems. This month requires patience, as much of your work will not yet generate revenue. Your second month shifts toward construction and testing. You complete your leverage asset and begin sharing pieces of it through your distribution engine. You also start conversations with potential customers about your premium offer, gathering feedback and refining your approach. This month typically shows the first signs of financial return, though amounts may still be modest. Your third month emphasizes optimization and scaling. You launch your premium offer to the audience you have built through your distribution engine, supported by the credibility established through your leverage asset. You also begin planning your next 90-day cycle, incorporating lessons learned and identifying opportunities for improvement. Throughout your sprint, you must track specific measurements that indicate progress toward your ultimate goal. These measurements include the growth of your audience through your distribution engine, the engagement level of people consuming your leverage asset, and the conversion rate of prospects who become customers for your premium offer. More importantly, you track the monthly recurring revenue or consistent cash flow generated by your system. Success in your wealth sprint depends on maintaining focus despite distractions and obstacles. The world will present countless opportunities that appear more attractive or easier than your chosen path. Friends and family may question your dedication to what seems like slow progress. Competitors may launch similar offerings that tempt you to abandon your plan. Your ability to resist these distractions and maintain commitment to your 3 pillars determines whether your sprint succeeds or fails. The momentum you generate during these 90 days extends far beyond the immediate financial results. You develop the mental habits that support long-term wealth creation. You build systems that can be refined and expanded. You establish relationships with customers who may purchase additional offerings in the future. Most importantly, you prove to yourself that focused execution produces measurable results. Your wealth sprint concludes with a comprehensive review of your accomplishments and challenges. You document what worked well so you can repeat successful strategies. You identify what could be improved so you can refine your approach. You celebrate your progress while planning your next cycle of growth. This review process transforms experience into wisdom, ensuring that each subsequent sprint builds on the foundation of the previous one. The completion of your first wealth sprint marks the beginning of your journey rather than the end. You now possess a proven system for creating value, a growing audience of people who trust your expertise, and tangible evidence that focused effort produces financial results. Your next 90 days can build on this foundation, addressing larger problems, reaching more people, or commanding higher prices for premium solutions. The science of getting rich reveals itself through consistent application of proven principles rather than through complex theories or elaborate strategies. Your 90-day wealth sprint embodies this science in its most practical form, transforming knowledge into action and effort into results. The fortune you seek awaits on the other side of focused execution.